Okay. I forgot to look. Oh, I want to say it's week 28. That seems like it's whatever. You guys know the drill. I never know. But my challenge for this week is to talk about someone whose my first impression of ended up being really different from how they actually were, and if that kind of taught me anything about myself, if that made me notice anything about myself. And there was one person that very immediately came to mind, and that was my ex-husband. Basically, without getting into too much detail, I was young and saw someone who was very charming, very caring, very charismatic. This was someone I went to school with at the time, in college, and he was very well known. A lot of people really liked him, and just it kind of seemed like that cool, popular guy. Not like cool, but like just a well-liked, well-respected person. And when we started dating, he was very sweet, very caring, very considerate, all these things that initially, the first impression was really good. And then looking back, I can identify a lot of traits that are indicative of, I hate to even say this because it's such an overused term, I feel like these days, but like narcissistic personalities, things like love bombing and all this kind of stuff. And then as time went on and I got to know him a little bit better, and just things sort of progressed, it just ended up being very different than my initial impression. And that's ultimately what led to us splitting up, is me realizing that this was someone who was never actually going to care about me, who was just going to give the perception of caring. And it just ended up being a very unhealthy person, a very manipulative person, a very selfish person, which is pretty much the exact opposite of my initial impression. And it taught me a lot, because I realized that these traits that initially made me feel very like secure and comfortable and like it felt very familiar, I realized really unhealthy traits, and they felt safe and secure and familiar because that's what I grew up around. I grew up around a lot of toxicity, around a lot of really manipulative people, a lot of really mentally unhealthy people. And so I've learned that that's something that I gravitate towards, in my brain, even though it's not healthy, like I find that to be familiar. And so that's something that I've had to, kind of go to therapy, start to unpack and understand why that's something that I seek out. But just now that I'm conscious of it and aware of it, I have to kind of stop and, look at the relationships that I have with people now in any capacity and be like, okay, is this someone that there's a fly near me, that I'm comfortable around because they're actually a safe person? Or is this someone who is just kind of giving the impression of being a safe person because they're displaying traits that I considered normal growing up in an unhealthy environment? So that was a very enlightening experience, one I'm ultimately very grateful for. Not exactly great at the time. But yeah, I've learned a lot that, the people who kind of front load their affection and front load their charisma, just kind of maybe take a step and hold off and proceed with caution. Not saying everyone who's like that is, a manipulative person or an unhealthy person, but it just taught me, okay, I need to be a little bit more, discerning with people. So, that is a person who had a very different first impression than how they ended up being, but like I said, good life lesson, and I think that's it for week 28. I don't know, whatever this week is. I did the challenge. Hooray!
Hey guys, it's week 28, I think. This week's challenge is just to run or walk a mile, which wouldn't be so hard, except I've just been really busy at work, and so haven't really been going to the gym or training much. And then of course I kind of put it off until today, and I ended up going to play tennis for the first time in like 20 years. So I'm pretty tired, and what was going to be a run is just going to end up being a walk. And I don't think I'm going to have you guys watch the entire thing. So this is me making it down after taking a nice little nap. See you guys next week.